Harris, and welcome to Macro Magic. Today I have a special guest, Edward Esko, with me. During the pandemic, we have worked together providing Zoom lectures to the public, and I felt it was really important for him to come on and talk about all his insights about the virus and what we can do in terms of improving our immunity. Ed has been the Director of Education for the Cushi Institute in the past. He's written over 80 books, co-authored with Michio Cushi and Alex Jack, and some of his own. One of them is Contemporary Macrobiotics. He's gone on to revise and update a lot of Michio Kushi's books, which is very important in this time that we're all looking at our health. And he's broached a number of subjects on Alzheimer's disease. He actually wrote a book on the feng shui of baseball and cold fusion. He's a brilliant man. He's lectured all over the world. He presently teaches 3 levels at the IMI, the International Macrobiotic Institute, to students on Zoom. And so happy to have him. Welcome, Ed.
Thank you, Sherry. It's a pleasure to be here.
It's so nice to have you on the show. And I thought you'd start off by just sharing some of your insights about the pandemic from a macrobiotic perspective, and give us all hints of what we can do to improve our immunity at this time. I know you just wrote a book that's been translated to German as well as distributed all through the United States on Amazon, and it's a very helpful book on the immune system and what to do. And I'm so happy you're on the show.
Great, Sherry. Our main focus is on the relation between diet and natural immunity. And in between diet and natural immunity is this vast ecosystem known as the microbiome, which is the estimated 100 trillion bacteria, mostly in the digestive tract. And it's those bacteria, most of which are good, that act as intermediaries between what we eat day to day and what we absorb and digest day to day, and also our immune function.
And I don't think a lot of people realize this in terms of how important the gut bacteria is, because there's so much hype about vaccines and antibiotics and things like that trying to kill the virus.
Well, often, Sherry, those things have the opposite effect. They don't benefit the microbiome. In fact, they harm it. Mm-hmm. And I think probably familiar to many listeners or viewers, the effect of taking antibiotics on their digestive functions, elimination functions, mm-hmm. and how disturbed the microbiome becomes from that influence. But not just antibiotics. Things like sugar, processed food, mm-hmm. glyphosate, which is in many foods, on one hand, and then on the other is the heavy intake of animal food. Mm-hmm. Meat is the very harmful and destructive for the the microbiome. In fact, it flourishes, it allows, I should say, it facilitates the development of harmful bacteria versus the good bacteria. The reason why, yes, please.
Yes, then, well, we know that meat is very hard to digest because your teeth don't rip it up enough, and it stays in your gut for a super long time. I think that's one of the main
that's
reasons
right.
Why it's not good for the healthy bacteria.
Well, it's composed mostly of protein and fat, Sherry. There's no fiber.
No fiber, right.
And so what happens is there's nothing there to feed the good bacteria. Mm-hmm. The fiber in whole grains and beans, brown rice and other whole grains, a lot of that is resistant starch, meaning it's undigested. And when it goes into the large intestine, the colon, It actually ferments and serves as food for the beneficial bacteria that help the body's immune system. That's why a plant-based diet, macrobiotic diet, is most ideal for strengthening natural immunity and also strengthening resistance to virus and bacteria, including the COVID-19 virus. So if we look around the world, where did the situation develop the most? Well, we see right now in the United States, there are clusters around meatpacking facilities. Not only in the factory farms themselves and the facilities themselves, but also in the communities that surround those facilities. And so that's just further proof that the relation between animal food and COVID-19 and other infectious conditions is very clear. So
and I
again,
know that
by
also, yeah, I know that also Neil Barnard and a number of other people are saying inside these factory farms, you know, the diseases are spreading so rampantly, especially with, you know, the huge amounts of farm and factory animals that have been.
That's right.
Yes.
And it's important to remember that the people who suffered the most from this COVID-19 are those who had already pre-existing conditions, so-called comorbidities. I believe in New York State as many as 89%. Either like diabetes, type 2, the heart disease, perhaps cancer, and all of these conditions which are diet related. In other words, diet is the main cause of heart disease. Everybody knows that. Diet, especially high sugar consumption, is the main cause of type 2 diabetes. So the point is, diet is win-win for eliminating or reducing these comorbidities, the sicknesses that are there in the first place, while also strengthening the resistance to various the foreign things, foreign proteins, essentially like virus and bacteria. So it's win-win, together with, of course, sunshine and activity. So that's one reason why children seem largely immune, because they're outdoors all the time, playing in the sun. I know the kids in my neighborhood, every day, riding their bikes, their scooters up and down the street all day long, getting good sunshine, keeping totally active. And that's in stark contrast to the unfortunate situation for many seniors who are kind of in a dank facility with no light or improper light. They don't move much, they don't get outside. And of course, those folks were most at risk for the COVID-19 complications.
Yeah, they even said for the Spanish flu, when they put patients outside of the hospitals in tents, they improved so much just from the simple vitamin D from the sun. And
it's common sense. It goes back to the time of Hippocrates, the founder of modern medicine. By the way, Hippocrates, everyone knows him. He's famous for saying, "Let food be thy medicine, and medicine be thy food." But he also said something else, less famous, but equally important. And that is, all sickness begins in the gut. And that's being confirmed now, today, with the study of the microbiome, and especially the relationship between diet and the biome and diet and natural immunity.
And isn't it ironic that
yes,
isn't it ironic that Chinese medicine pairs the lung with the large intestine? So you're seeing a lot of the symptoms in the lung, indication that the large intestine is also weak.
Exactly right. They're considered a key organ pair in traditional Chinese medicine. That's been known for thousands of years. So if there is problems in one, you'll see problems in the other. And apparently now they're discovering there's also a biome existing in the lungs. And the biome in the intestine, colon, has direct communication with the biome in the lung, and also with the lung's natural resistance and natural immunity. So again, diet is intimately related. And I advise all viewers today who are listening, please consider the meat eating is not beneficial and is very harmful and very much putting your immune system under stress, under duress, and making it less able to neutralize or cancel influences such as COVID-19.
And you
So
also
please
mentioned
think about that.
the nitrogen in the meat has an effect.
It's fertilizer, Sherry, and it fertilizes the bad bacteria. You know, like the dead zone in the Gulf of Mexico is coming from nitrogen runoff into the Mississippi River from agriculture and meat processing, waste products from the animals. So this creates a dead zone, killing off the beneficial organisms and allowing the harmful organisms to flourish, and then take all the oxygen out of the water. The same thing happens in the gut. The intake of high nitrogen animal protein decomposes and creates this toxic nitrogen environment, which then nourishes especially the harmful bacteria in the digestive tract. And that immediately creates inflammation because the body's immune system has to be mobilized and throws the entire system out of whack. Not only that, but the high meat diet is also the major factor in the atherosclerosis and other forms of heart disease. It's a major factor, together with refined sugar and refined carbohydrate, in type 2 diabetes. So it's crystal clear that diet is the way moving forward, a plant-based diet, to minimize your risk and your exposure, or your susceptibility, I should say, to things like COVID-19. In other words, the solution won't be found in a one-size-fits-all concept like a vaccine. The solution will be found in a way of eating tailored to everyone's individual needs, everyone's individual desires, within the principles of a plant-based diet. And that individualized approach, building everyone's natural immunity, okay, is the only way really to move forward and be safeguarded from these things in the future.
Yeah, and I know in the macrobiotic diet we look at pickles, how the important sauerkraut and various homemade pickles are, because they carry that fermented quality which builds the microbiome. Also miso, we use miso soup, and we also use fermented foods like natto and amasaki, and they all help regrow that natural microbiome that you need in your intestines.
Well, a plant-based macrobiotic diet is rich in what we call prebiotic foods. That means foods that have resistant starch and fiber and nourish the good bacteria. And it's also rich in probiotics. That means the actual beneficial bacteria existing within sauerkraut, within pickled vegetables, within fermented soy products like miso, that directly augment and directly benefit and reinforce the positive and beneficial bacteria in the digestive tract. So
we're going to take a break, Ed.
Win-win. It's the exact opposite of the present-day high-meat diet, which destroys the beneficial bacteria.
Right. We're going to take a break, and when we come back, we're going to talk a little bit more about this, and also your book that just got published.
Great.
So people can pick up a copy.
Thank you.
I want a home.
I just want a home. I want someone to love.
Last year, more than 30,000 companion animals came to us without homes. 20,000 of them were felines. Let's make some homes together.
Hello everyone, I'm Mark Iorio. I'm the host of Rainmakers Roundup right here on RVN TV. The show is about looking for people who are in competitive businesses that are doing something different and unique in the world of sales and marketing. Join me right here on Rainmakers Roundup on Wednesday mornings at 9 a.m. and then again on Thursday evenings at 6:30 p.m. right here on RVN TV.
Today's show is sponsored by Dr. Jacqueline. Take charge of your life personally, financially, and professionally. Visit drjacqueline.com to book an appointment today.
The session that we had with BCAT was really entertaining and enlightening. We were able to put together some very specific steps that we as individuals can take, and it was really fun to all come together and see sort of where we're going as a team and how we can all get there together.
We had a tremendous experience with the BCAT partners. One of the challenges that we have as an organization is to make sure that we have the right people in the right chairs doing the right thing. To do that well, you have to have synergy. You can try to dream up ways to make sure that your group does that, or you can rely on experts. We would recommend BCAT partners to anybody who's looking to take their organization to the next level.
Welcome back. I'm Sherry Damaris. I'm with Edward Esko. We're talking about the pandemic, some interesting insights about how what you can do at home, very simple things to take care of your immunity and avoid being sick. Welcome back, Ed.
Thank you, Sherry. It's a pleasure.
Yes, and I think it's really important for viewers to note that, the better care you can take of your digestive tract, the in better shape you're going to be with this pandemic. Is that correct?
That's quite correct. As Hippocrates said, all sickness begins in the gut. And modern science is now discovering that's due to what we call the microbiome, the vast colonies of beneficial or potentially harmful if they're not fed properly, the bacteria that inhabit the colon and other parts of the digestive system.
So you mentioned there's prebiotics, which is whole grains and undigested fiber, and then there's probiotics, which are, pickles and fermented foods. So the combination gives you a really healthy microbiome.
It's win-win, and that's part of traditional diets. Macrobiotic diet is not new, by the way. The traditional plant-based diet is worldwide, culturally, every culture. It was our diet of our ancestors. But they knew, in addition to cooking, proper use of fire in cooking, which is a form of pre-digestion, pretty much universally they had fermentation as a complement to their plant-based diet to enhance the beneficial effects of that diet and provide natural immunity without even knowing about it or thinking about it. It was just part of the natural order of life.
Yeah, I know. And even with American Indians, when they ate meat, it was a very small amount and lots of vegetables or grains with that. And I think as we become more industrialized, it's larger parts of animal food, which is getting us in trouble environmentally and also health-wise.
Also, Sherry, the overuse of antibiotics and other medications, overuse. I'm not against the proper use or necessary use, but overprescription, plus the overuse of antibiotics in the food supply. So that means like livestock animals, many of them are being fed antibiotics because they're so sick. And that is, again, being transferred to people who eat those products. And many of the bacteria are developing resistance. Same thing with virus. Virus is changing and mutating all the time. So that's why a vaccine, which comes out, which is developed in 1 year, may not work when it's implemented the following year, because by that time the virus has already gone through dozens of mutations. So it's already obsolete before it's even introduced. So again, the only real way to protect and safeguard is to strengthen your own immunity, yourself. In other words, don't be passive in this situation. Be proactive. Don't wait for the NIH or whatever to develop a vaccine. You self-immunize yourself by your day-to-day selection of food, your day-to-day cooking, your day-to-day avoidance of the immunocompromising foods like heavy meat, the overuse of drugs and medications, antibiotics, and of course sugar and processed food, as much as you can.
Now you've written a book recently that's been translated to different languages. Did you want to hold it up in terms of?
Yeah, the English edition, and I hope you read it, is called Strengthening Natural Immunity under my name. Edward Esko is the lead author. Together with a foreword by Dr. Martha Cottrell, MD, who was formerly the head of the Fashion Institute of Technology's health service back in the 80s in New York City. By the way, Dr. Cottrell is an amazing 92-year-old, still giving lectures, giving talks, very active. She's now living in Florida, but amazing example of healthy aging through macrobiotics. And so her statement is here, and she has a lot of experience here because she was dealing with the immunocompromised clients in New York at that time. That was the beginning of the AIDS epidemic. And she wrote a book called AIDS, Macrobiotics, and Natural Immunity back around 1990 with Michio Kushi, who was our teacher in the macrobiotic field in Boston. And that book is also available if you speak German under the title COVID-19, published in Germany. Again, the English edition is Strengthening Natural Immunity, and it's available today on Amazon.
And it's a great book. And we've been doing Zoom classes with you. You are also offering classes through the IMI on Zoom. That's the International Macrobiotic Institute. And I'm teaching the cooking part of that.
Yep.
And you're doing the 3 levels and bringing on more faculty to teach various other classes in fermentation and things like that. So people...
The IMI is aiming to become an online university of holistic health and healing. Using macrobiotic principles. We also started courses like energy healing, using the body's energy system to affect healing, in addition to a healthy diet, plus cooking and cooking workshops, featuring fermentation, how to make things like the sauerkraut, how to make traditional soy fermented foods, which are all recognized as being very healthful. So these are online, and hopefully at some point when things return to more normal, we'll be able to actually meet together in classrooms and in groups like we have previously over the years.
And we have some photos of you lecturing at your program in Dubai. You've got a big, huge following in Dubai. Many students have signed up for the level classes for that. And
that's right.
Yes, and they can reach you through your website, edwardesko.com.
The best way is internationalmacrobioticinstitute.com for descriptions of our courses, or you can reach me personally. My email, edwardesko@gmail.com. All one word, edwardesko@gmail.com. I'll be happy to answer your questions and hopefully guide you or give you some suggestions, both in terms of your diet and also in terms of further study that you can pursue anywhere in the world in our wonderful digital age.
And this is a flyer of one of your workshops, Healing with Energy, Healing with Food, that you did in
Healing with
August.
Energy, Healing with Food is the New York branch of the IMI. We're using the name Kushi School of New York in honor of our teacher, Michio Kushi. And we were holding live classes until this whole thing happened, most recently in the fall of last year. We were scheduled to have a full series of New York seminars this year, but we had to postpone everything. Hopefully the KSNY, Kushi School of New York, will resume next year, hopefully late winter, early spring when things open up again. But again, the online programs are all there, and you can take full advantage and study and learn cooking and all aspects of healthy living, including how to strengthen your natural immunity.
And we have a shot of your book, the Strengthening Natural Immunity book. This is such a wonderful resource for how to, like you said, take full responsibility for your health during the pandemic and protect yourself as much as you can.
And your family and, yeah, friends, sure. So we're hoping that the message gets out. And that message is, everybody, listen, the age of meat is over. New York Times had an editorial a couple Sundays back, the end of meat. And we agree, it's time now. And these situations, these like COVID-19 and the pandemics are just pointing everything in that direction. The meat-eating way is obsolete now. And these are showing us that we're creating vulnerability, we're creating weakness by hanging on to those unnecessary and harmful habits. So let's change, everybody.
Yeah, especially with factory farms too, you know, the environment, to kill all those thousands of animals, it's just heartbreaking.
Yeah, let's go organic, let's go
polluting.
fresh, let's go local and plant-based.
Yeah. Well, thanks, Ed, for being on the show. If you want to join us on Thursday nights at 7:30 Eastern Standard Time on Zoom, you can contact either one of us on my website at kissyourplate.com and sign up. And we always look forward to hosting you, Ed. You're a world of knowledge. I still want to read the book, The Feng Shui of Baseball.
And, for all Phillies fans, you'll be very pleased. Yeah, absolutely.
All your other wonderful
My first baseball game, Sherry, was the Phillies in 1958 at Connie Mack Stadium. My dad and brother and I went out to see the Phillies. I'll never forget how impressive it was to an 8-year-old kid.
So thanks again for coming on the show, and keep up your great work. And we look forward to seeing you on your next Zoom lecture.
Great. Thank you so much, and looking forward to seeing everyone again.